Does the fire department have a down season? I don't think so. Last month alone, firefighters in Winston-Salem responded to 14 structure fires. That's on top of the other calls like car crashes and medical calls. One of the leading causes for house fires is unattended cooking. In North Carolina, 49% of house fires are caused by cooking. 66% of those start from food or other cooking materials catching fire. Ranges or stovetops account for almost 62% of home cooking fires. So here to talk about fire safety with us is Teresa Knops. She is the risk reduction specialist from the Winston-Salem Fire Department. She is answering your questions as well as a fire expert and personnel. You can send those questions to 336-379-5775 and we'll get those questions answered. All right, let's just talk about Winston-Salem seeing all of these kitchen fires in the last few weeks. What's the message you want people to get?
The message that I want to send out is that it's so important to stay in the kitchen. And I think part of it is that people don't understand the what they're cooking with and how flammable some of the things they're cooking with could potentially be. So I want you to stay in the kitchen when you're cooking, and I want you to have working smoke alarms and a home fire escape plan. That's what Winston-Salem Fire Department wants you to do.
Yeah, and I know that's one of those things where you start something and you're like, oh, well, it's got to cook down for a minute. Let me go start doing some laundry. Let me go let the dog out. Let me do whatever. And then all of a sudden something happens. What are some things that we should all be doing to prevent these types of fires? Like, what should we never do, like with grease fires and things like that?
Well, I think we need to be aware of some of the things that we cook with, particularly cooking oils, that there's a very narrow margin between a safe temperature and when it reaches flammable vapors. And that time could be like when you're saying, Tanya, when you say, I need to step outside and smoke a cigarette, or my child is crying, or whatever it might be, all the distractions that happen. If something happens and you absolutely have to leave that kitchen, take that pot off that eye and turn off your stovetop. Take it all the way off if need be, and then come back and finish what you started. But just that short window of you being gone could be all that cooking oil needs, or the food in that pan or pot needs to start a fire.
Okay, and so often, you know, we want to grab a pot of water, we want to grab some like cornstarch or some flour and throw it on there. What do we really need to do to put out these fires?
If you have a grease fire on your stovetop, you want to take a lid. Always keep a lid larger than your pan or the size of your pan or pot sitting beside you, and you want to slide it over it while you're turning off your eye. So fire needs three things to burn: heat, fuel, and oxygen. So you're taking away that oxygen, you're taking everything away so that the fire will die down. So cover it. Please don't put flour on it. Flour is actually a carbohydrate, and it will actually exacerbate the fire. It will make it even worse.
Okay, so that leads me to asking you this, because besides oil, there's a whole bunch of other like really common flammable items in our kitchen that we're cooking with and that there are right there. So what should we be keeping an eye on?
Well, the first, of course, is flour. It's a carbohydrate, so it's explosive, even more explosive when it's mixed with air. So you definitely don't want your flour to fall down on an open flame if you're cooking with a gas stove. And if it kind of falls all around the eyes of your stove and on your countertop, make sure you wipe it up. Keep it clean as you're cooking. Keep that flour away from everything. And when flour and oxygen are exposed to heat or flame, it can actually cause an explosion. Sugar is another. Sugar is also a carbohydrate. It can do the exact same thing. We know that there are scientific reasons behind it. And the one key thing about sugar is if you're cooking it by itself, it can actually self-ignite. And I equate that to something like marshmallows. Marshmallows are pure sugar. And so often we cook with flour, we cook with sugar, and we don't think about how quickly it can become a fire. Cinnamon is another one. Cinnamon has some compounds that will actually create a fire. An orange shaving. So there is a compound in the rind of oranges that, when exposed to flames, can start a fire.
All right, I'm thinking about all those Rice Krispie treats and things and whatever else that we make on top of the stove that we could easily get into some problems with. All right, everybody always wants to know, where do I put my my fire extinguisher in my kitchen in case I want to use that to extinguish the fire?
So you want to put your fire extinguisher at an exit point so that if you have to use it, there's a door behind you to get out. You never want to put yourself between the fire and the exit door. You want to be able to make sure that if you do use the extinguisher, you can get out.
Okay, and so many people have used like you've seen them maybe on Amazon or wherever else, like those fire blankets. What do we think about those kinds of things?
So for a cooking fire, one of the things that we recommend is actually called a stovetop fire stop. It looks like a tuna can. It is a magnet underneath your hood, and it has a fusible link, and if there are flames that reach a certain temperature, it will open up and dump a powder on your stovetop, extinguishing the fire at least long enough for you to get out. So that's a perfect thing to have.
I know, I think a lot of people, when they see the flames and stuff, they think, I just need to save my kitchen, I need to save my house. But you're saying really the focus needs to be just getting out okay.
Yes.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to continue to talk about fire safety. We're talking about smoke detectors and things when we come back, and why you should shut the door when you go to bed. And we're taking your questions, 336-379-5775.